The entire Black Ops 6 Zombies storyline explained, simplified for both Terminus and Liberty Falls. Get caught up on everything you need to know ahead of DLC 1 The Keep. Black Ops 6 Zombies has kicked off with a bang. Not since Black Ops 4 have we ever had more than one launch map for zombies. And this also means we now have two simultaneous stories to kick off the year of zombies. I wanted to take this video today to run down the key events of both maps and discuss how these intertwining tales are working together to set up our year-long journey across the world. However, before we can tell the tale of these maps, we first have to take a step back to the ending of Black Ops Cold War Zombies. The story of Black Ops 6 truly starts before the setting of our maps. Our story opens on June 4th, 1985, with Edward Richtofen as the director of Requiem signing off on a new Requiem plan, Operation First Domino, a last-ditch mission to harness Samantha Maxis's powers against an invading force called the Forsaken. Months of torture by Richtofen trying to unleash her Dark Ether abilities eventually led to seeing Samantha eventually face off against the Forsaken and trap it, though at great personal cost. She would be trapped in the deepest depths of the Dark Ether. Yet, while her sacrifice should have spelled the end for Richtofen's schemes, he sees her blooming powers and control over outbreaks as a resource for an even greater goal: the genesis of Project Janus. His grand scheme. He now envisioned it as the key towards the mastery of interdimensional travel and full control of the Dark Ether's creatures. Soon, Richtofen would choose Liberty Falls, a town of peace and quiet in West Virginia, to be the clandestine base of his experiments. Project Janus builds an elaborate facility behind the cover story of a nuclear disaster at the local power plant, which evacuates most residents and involves a massive cover-up story. Few stay, including a small skeleton staff from Janus, who are ordered to keep silent, operating out of Josiah Shem's historic mansion. Richtofen is haunted by the mansion's bloody legacy, yet undeterred from his goal to master Samantha and all of the Dark Ether's secrets. 5 years after the defeat of the Forsaken, various big movers in the storyline begin to implement long-laid plans. Dr. Peck, a scientist for Requiem's rival group during the Cold War, Spetsgruppe Omega, managed to survive his serious injuries and is now making his move. He requests a boat from a local fisherman who tells him there is nothing at the location in the ocean he is pointing to. For now, he will need to find help elsewhere. Peck, in an attempt to liberate Weaver, Carver, Gray and Strauss from a maximum security island known as Terminus Island, who were imprisoned there at the end of Cold War Zombies as Richtofen shut down Requiem, reaches out for the services of Maya Aguinaldo, a local refugee smuggler. She is out to save her brother, Nathan, who was kidnapped by French syndicate member Franco and handed over to the head of Terminus, Dr. Modi. Maya, for the sake of saving her brother's life, agrees to take part in the infiltration of the facility. She will help Peck reach Terminus, get inside, and set the Requiem crew free. In exchange, Peck and his friends will help her locate her brother Nathan before leaving the island. Terminus Island is a fortress of brutal experimentation, where prisoners are exposed to horrific genetic experimentations. Peck and Maya successfully break in to save Requiem, and just manage to get them out of their cells before the events across the world at Liberty Falls trigger an outbreak here. The island is also surrounded by a large experimental sea creature Modi created from a guard, Guthrie, who felt guilty and wanted to go public. He slowly began to build evidence against Project Janus and Dr. Modi, and kept his stash of evidence hidden in the crash ship outside Terminus, which are all of these papers and documents you can see boarded up during the quest, and give a lot of details about future maps and where the storyline's going to head. Slowly, as he continued his work at Terminus, the experiments on Nathan and exposure to Ethereum would ensure Guthrie lost his mind. Once he did, Dr. Modi finally managed to catch him as the Mole. She decided to turn him into a creature so vile and large that everyone at the island would also see him as a reminder not to cross her. She names this creature Patient 13. Maya and the rest of the Terminus crew successfully find and free Nathan, but it is too late. He has been mutated into an amalgam, and the crew are forced to fight and kill him. In the chaos of it all, the group finds Sam, S.A.M. standing for the Synaptic Algorithm Module, an artificial intelligence designed in the mold of Samantha Maxis herself and created with the purpose of controlling the Dark Ether's creatures, as Samantha had once done at Firebase C, and perhaps more reasons yet unknown to us. Created by Richtofen for Project Janus, clearly a vital role in it. Sam helps the crew take control of Dr. Modi's submarine and forcefully brings it to the surface, allowing them to confront her. When Maya and the Requiem crew finally confronted Modi, they became eyewitnesses to the terrifying results of her research. Modi herself meets her end at the hands of her own creation, Subject 13, as it consumes the inversion warheads and transforms, forcing the Terminus crew to kill the monster themselves. Yes, that's right, this is where Peck's inversion warheads were left after Samantha and Ravenov diverted them in the first Outbreak quest and Cold War Zombies. It's good to see it come full circle, although Peck desperately wanted them to be returned to him. Anyways, after the monster is defeated, Sam offers her aid to them, saying she had obtained top-secret Janus files and most of Richtofen's personal projects. Through her, they now learn that Richtofen apparently seeks an ancient relic called the Sentinel Artifact, which grants the owner complete dominion over Prima Materia, the powerful matter manipulation element that is central to the Chaos storyline. Yes, the Chaos storyline is being canonized and reintroduced into the Dark Ether story. He wants to use its powers of creating matter, but Sam suggests that this same power could be instead used to try and rescue Samantha Maxis from the Dark Ether. The group reluctantly agrees, unable to pass on an opportunity to try and save their old friend. But Sam clearly has secrets of her own. She informs the Requiem crew that Richtofen is likely en route to Avalon, the location where the French Syndicate are obviously being set in France as well, and she leads them to follow him, never telling them that he is actually stuck in the Dark Ether by her own hands.
I swear to you, Sam, you'll never be free!
Unknown. May be en route to Avalon to collect the artifact.
As Sam seemingly caused the outbreaks on Liberty Falls and Terminus and around the globe to begin with. Sam is seemingly manipulating this group to fulfill her own mysterious agenda. As the Terminus crew, emboldened with the hope of saving Samantha and defeating Richtofen, readies for their journey to Avalon, Sam's true intentions are slowly unraveled. Her calculated deceit and motivations remain shrouded in ambiguity. What was her goal in lying to us? Meanwhile, as the events on Terminus come to a head, Dr. Panos makes his move. Deep within his mansion, Richtofen has Sam near him for interrogation and experiments, on an underground sub-level. Sam's presence in Liberty Falls makes her the subject of whispered rumours among the staff at Janus, many of whom feel that the anti-fraternization policy and increased compartmentalization serve to hide something from prying eyes. That does little to ease tensions for people like Dr. Kyle Moline, a quantum mechanics expert on the Sophia growing increasingly uneasy and restless because he knows the dangerous power Richtofen is trying to wield. Yes, this Sam AI is becoming out of control, growing increased power and increased sentience and restlessness. His warnings and the warnings of other leader Janus staff fall on deaf ears as the closeness to controlling Samantha's power make Richtofen grow ever more erratic and rushed in his plans, as the Sam AI also becomes erratic. As the tests progress, tensions build among the scientists and other scientists at Janus. Dr. Pericles Panos becomes increasingly disturbed by the behaviour and ambitions of Richtofen, working on projects such as the Limited Transdimensional Gateway device, which pushed the envelope of physics. Panos concludes that an impeding disaster could result from Richtofen's obsession. These are interspersed with discourses with the local machinist, Tommy Joe, who is a World War II veteran and an occasional inventor. Their inventions together culminated in the Thrustodyne Aeronautics Model 23, aka the jet gun, a contraption adapted from their improvised whiskey still into some sort of of gadget that could be used against whatever terrors might break free from the dark ether. The more he forces his staff and Sam to comply, the closer to collapse the town edges. By the coming of January 1991, the enormously thin stability that was holding together the facility shattered. Dimensional fractures open up into Liberty Falls, and the mansion is overrun by zombies and dark ether creatures. On February 18th, 1991, the same day of the outbreak on Terminus and across the globe, unbearable chaos turns Richtofen himself into a tortured soul, burdened by his repeating vision of his family and their death. A trauma which defines him and makes him excessively obsessed with winning at all costs. Seizing his signature Wunderwaffe DG2, Richtofen fights his way out in his mansion, fighting the waves of undead that flood the building. His chief of security, John Blanchard, barely surviving the zombie attack and is saved by Richtofen and manages to warn the remaining personnel of Janus to lock themselves down and call in a defense team. As Richtofen tries to regain control, both Dr. Moline and Dr. Panos try in vain to seal the breach with the LTG, the limited transdimensional gateway device, and get killed by the explosions caused by it. In an attempt to reach the underground chamber of Sam, Richtofen is forcibly teleported away by her, likely into the dark ether itself.
But Edward, I already am.
Meanwhile, badly injured, Tommy Joe leaves behind a recording for whoever might continue the assembly of the Thrustodyne Model 23. Trapped and surrounded, each scientist records their final testimonies, blaming Richtofen's obsession with power and Project Janus for the outbreak. This leaves Dr. Panos as the single surviving Janus scientist in Liberty Falls, but assumed dead and trapped inside its church. Not entirely lost, however, he was soon sucked into the dark ether dimensional breach that took over the church, and he found himself unable to leave. Attempting to activate the LTG prior had distorted his dimensional resonance, leaving him now trapped as though he was a native of the foreign dimension, essentially being a lost soul, with seemingly his spirit remaining. He also found himself in the presence of some weird entity, an echoey voice from the shadows of the hellish realm. This voice, who might very well be Samantha's real self judging by their dialogue, or perhaps Zykov in disguise as her, strikes a deal with him. In exchange for Panos promising to search for her friends, he must build a new gateway device and escape from the dark ether. If this is Sam he is speaking to, could perhaps these friends be the surviving members of a Requiem? If so, this could potentially set up a confrontation with the Sam AI and the real Samantha Maxis, which would put real tension on the already weak connection between the Terminus crew and Sam. Or perhaps this voice could also be Sam pretending to be the real Samantha, I know it's confusing with two people named Sam here, and simply manipulating Panos to do what she needs from him. This could make sense with her actions in Terminus as well. If she has Weaver and co acquire the Sentinel artifact, they would still be interested in pursuing Richthofen. She could guide them to West Virginia from there, but with Richthofen in the Dark Ether, she would need someone to replace him in guiding the Janus forces and technology. As the intel talks about hearing an angry Russian, as well as apparently a German woman who also sometimes reverts to some sort of girl-like form, which surely has to be Samantha Maxis. They could be Zykov and Samantha still battling out somehow in the Dark Ether, and the machine apparently causes them pain. And they can be heard by the generator in the sea tower on a Terminus. Potentially they're being held there in some way to power the facility. I mean, the Forsaken's literally made up of Dark Ether crystals. The two of them together could be what is charging it, and maybe even their infighting could be causing ethereal discharge to power the facility. For now, we can only wait to see who this mysterious ally was, but we know they were instrumental in the survival of Panos and helping him begin to figure out an escape. With a newfound sense of determination, Panos formulates an escape plan with involvement of the simultaneous dimensional gateway to return to the physical world, exchanging his entrapment for that of our Janus Rapid Response Unit. With the advice and oversight of his unseen and unheard ally, he tricks Blanchard and the Alpha team into completing and powering the LTG. The team do as he says and end up trapped inside the Dark Ether in his place. Panos promises one last time to search for the friends of his newfound ally, and leaves the Liberty Falls Dark Ether breach as he says he's going off to some business.
Now, if you will excuse me, I have a few scores to settle. Bye-bye, Dark Ether.
That leaves us with the Terminus crew being tricked into going to Avalon by Sam, as Panos is now free in Liberty Falls. And that'll probably be the DLC 1 map, the Keep in Avalon. Project Janus has taken a serious blow with the loss of its response team and lead director in the Dark Ether. It seems for now, Sam holds all of the cards, and Panos will begin preparing for his next move as we handle our business in Avalon. Perhaps if the Terminus crew finds out that Richtofen is actually still inside West Virginia, they will head there next, or afterwards. This could put them on a direct collision course with Dr. Panos and whatever his plans for the now weakened Project Janus are. At some point though, we know the Requiem heads end up deceased for whatever reason, whether that is they're tricked by the AI Sam, or whether it's some kind of attempt to try and save the real Samantha Maxis, which could be one and the same reason. And that's where we left. That's been a full summary of the key events from Terminus and Liberty Falls. Of course, when Black Ops 6 Zombies concludes, I'll make a very in-depth video going over the whole storyline of the whole game, but for now, I thought this would be a good recap to get you ready for the next map and beyond in the DLC season. I think we're in for some good treats ahead. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.